because all of our predecessors, all of the generations prior to us, had sacrificed so much for us to get here to this point wherein we can seize this opportunity now, and make something what it wasn't, right? We can bring that thing into existence that was, until this point, only a figment of our imagination. Very powerful stuff. Very, very powerful stuff, right? So that's the first thing that Gasset says. But it's important to understand that with respect to modernity, this idea of modernity isn't all bells and whistles and happiness and future-oriented, goal-directed, sort of empowering satisfaction, right? It's far more complicated than that, right? So those who read Gasset and to say that Gasset is in defense of modernity haven't truly understood what Gasset is doing in chapter 3. Because it's not so much that he's in defense of the Golden Age or of modernity, as it is he's giving a very good account of both, right? They are antithetical. Modernity is antithetical to the Golden Age account. By definition, it is completely opposite. They're polemic relationships, right? The one thing that you learn in, just a quick tangent, the one thing that you learn in philosophy is that philosophers and philosophy proper, sort of in this logical positivist sense, isn't really at its best. It's not an analysis of, just thought. I mean, it's not a discipline, rather. It's not a discipline that describes just things of the world. Philosophy at its best is an analysis, right? What it is it's a tool to analyze. And Hegel has this amazing account of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. And when you understand that there's going to be a point, there's going to be a counterpoint. So the point is nostalgia and golden age. The counterpoint is modernity. And what good philosophy is, what good philosophers do, what you, hopefully, if you've been watching my series of videos, recognize is that you see point, counterpoint, and the genius, the money, the crux, the beauty of life is in figuring out the synthesis between the polemic points. You guys think you guys are arguing past each other. You guys think there isn't anything that you can recognize, that there is an agreement that you can come to. Here's that agreement. Here's what you said. Here's what you said. Here's how both of those things synthesize to make one point. And what Gasset does, the beauty of, and this is probably one of my favorite books of all time, which is a huge claim, is that Gasset, time and time again, chapter and chapter again, in very, very succinct, brief, completely understandable terms, is he says point, counterpoint, point being nostalgia, counterpoint being modernity, synthesis. And he does it for chapter, page by page. Phenomenal analysis. With respect to this concept of modernity then, the first superficial interpretation of modernity is to view modernity as this attempt to actualize the present, right? This makes for great political speeches, right? We are in a time now, a time that all other times had waited for, and it is up to us to seize this moment and to actualize the dreams of the past in the present. Because if we don't, we can go on this decline. But it is our time now to seize it, and so on, and the rhetoric just spills like verbal sewage, right? And there's some truth to it, not to knock it, right? There is some truth to this. It could be said that in the campaign for Barack Obama that a lot of this was future-oriented, goal-oriented, present-actualized, sort of this modern concept. It's our time to seize it, right? Without this idea, we wouldn't have progress like the rights that women gained, right? The rights that minorities and African Americans have gained. You do need this. You need a sense of modernity, right? You need a sense of urgency and the idea that we in this generation can actualize the dreams and the visions of our predecessors. But if that's all you have, well, then you have a huge problem, and we're going to start to see what that problem is, right? So it's good to think of ourselves with such esteem. But remember, as I said in the beginning of this video, that can become a bit arrogant, right? If that's all you think, that we're going to do it and that we are going to be sort of the keystone to this whole thing, then arrogance becomes a problem. Gasset says later, he says, "Our time is a time which follows a period of plenitude. The man living on the other bank, the man of the plenary epoch just past, who sees everything from his own viewpoint, will suffer from the optical illusion will suffer from the optical illusion of regarding our age as a fall from plenitude, as a decadent period. He then goes on to say, when a period has satisfied, now this is the key point, when a period has satisfied its desires, right? When it's satisfied its desires. When a period has satisfied its desires, what is it that we want to do now? And I'll make it really contemporary, right? I'll make it really contemporary. The period before us, the generation before, all right, let's do 2 generations. 2 generations ago, there was a desire to have equal rights, right? So the push in the, for civil rights and equality, right? That push for civil rights and equality was recognized in the generation before ours, before mine, right? In our generation, it might be argued that at the very beginning of our generation, it might be argued that healthcare, which is a current, and I'm not trying to be biased in this, this is just a very clear account so that you can understand how Gasset, his mind works, how this analysis works, so that civil rights, the desires and hopes weren't satisfied in their epoch, in their generation, it was satisfied in the next generation. In this generation, though that was satisfied, this new desire came about. That desire might be for equal health care, and it was not satisfied in their generation, and now is the time for it to be satisfied in our generation. Right? That's well and good, and I really hope that it is satisfied in this generation. But if all you have is this idea that all the things of the past will be satisfied entirely in this generation, well, the problem becomes the following. When a period has satisfied its desires, its ideal, this means that it desires nothing more. It desires nothing more. It can't desire anything more because it's fulfilled everything that could ever be wanted. Arrogance. That the wells of desire have been dried up. There's nothing else to desire. There's nothing else to want because we have satisfied it all. Everything has been attained with our glorious return. That is to say, our famous plenitude is in reality a coming to an end. Now that's the genius of Gasset. I mean, that I don't even know how to put words into that. This is just ridiculous. I mean, what Gasset's saying is that if you have this concept of modernity, it's good to have an account of modernity, which, in fairness to contemporary sort of proponents of modernity, is that we have an opportunity within this time to seize the day, to get health care, as the last generation had the opportunity to get civil rights, as the generation before them had the opportunity to have abolitionist movements recognized in freedom, and the generation before that, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. Right? That is the progression. But if that's all you have, you don't have anything else. If the only thing that you're doing is trying to actualize some desire of the past, if that's all you have, then you have to recognize that once it's actualized, you serve no further function. There's nothing else for you to do. You've immediately become obsolete. Insofar as you've satisfied the desire of the past, right? You've become obsolete because there's no function that you have. Right? There's nothing else that you have to offer because, as he says in this amazing line, he says, that is to say, our famous plenitude is in reality a coming to an end. Right? This is the end of the road, folks. This is the end of the road. And what do you think will end up happening? Well, we'll go down and down and down and down and down, and then our predecessors will have this nostalgic longing for this moment. Right? We don't want that. We want it to perpetually be going up, 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 and up, exponentially, infinitely. Right? That would be the best account.